Welcome to the JT and Looney Podcast, the first of 2026. My happy chatter companion in his Raider uniform. Good to see you, Tom. Happy New Year to you.
Oh, Happy New Year to you, too. I was just on my phone, as we always all have to be at all times now, and I'm just like a 25-year-old. I had to make sure I retweeted that they can watch the JT and Looney Podcast live if they'd like. At this moment, it's fun to do a new thing that's evolved with the podcast. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, streaming, evolving with streaming, being able to go live on demand whenever you want. They actually pulled this off, man. When we heard about it decades ago, or what would it look like? Cars would be self-driving. Yeah, I got a car outside that I'm now letting self-drive. I didn't think I'd ever allow it. Now I'm letting it do that. And then one of these shady program directors along the way told us, 10 years from now, you'll be able to go live on your phone. And they were right. And now the problem is all these shady program directors who only have a background in TikTok are telling everybody how to go live on their phone instead of how to go meet with advertisers and get in your car and try to bring in revenue to your radio station. Every new guy in the new year just wants a radio show. I want a radio show. Can I go on? Can I have a radio show? No, you got to go out and get advertising. You got to go out and build relationships, then you can have a radio show.
Well, not only that, it's just a lot of the same program directors. We really admire coaches, and we'll get to that. We have John Harbaugh to talk about, and others, and Pete Carroll to talk about. But we really admire coaches, their leadership qualities, how many, whether or not they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But when it comes to program directors who used to coach us, they've just stopped, and they've started hiring jocks or people who aren't qualified to, and they're forgetting that talk show hosts and talk shows don't grow on trees. So they move on to shiny new objects when they already have a quality product, and they start firing guys who are good, maybe a little bit older. And I don't mind anybody younger coming along who's great and even better, and hire them. I get excited about that, but I don't get excited about bad talk radio, and I miss good talk radio.
Well, I didn't plan on starting with this. That's why our podcast is so organic, and it must be under 45 minutes, or my financial clock goes off. But what you said is very interesting about putting new people on the radio, because now you're not putting new people on the radio. You're putting new people on television who shouldn't be on TV and never be on the radio, and they're getting an opportunity to be seen and heard as background noise on these televised products that are very, I don't know the best way to say it, very juvenile and dumbed down. So you can take a guy and put a hoodie on him and throw him in the corner and put a camera in front of him. And that's how people are breaking into media now. They did not teach that at Syracuse at Newhouse. They didn't teach that when Mike Tirico graduated after Bob Costas, after Marv Albert at that Syracuse school that everybody throws in our face because you went to Penn State and I went to Geneseo. They didn't teach 30 years ago that you would get on television via radio by growing out a scruffy beard, putting on a hoodie, being made fun of, putting on costumes too. Remember, that's big. You got to put on a costume and be made fun of, and then you can break into broadcasting. That's the era we're in right now.
Well, you walked me into this, but Syracuse was ripping people off. Yeah, they gave us some great talent over the years, but every college that taught communicate, talking is a major. No, talking is what you learn to do when you're 2. But people, television, the radio. That sounds like a way to skate through college, and you know it is. It's a class. It's not a major. Speaking is a class, not a major. Communications is a class, not a major. So yeah. Now we find out Syracuse was ripping people off. All you have to do is put on a hat and sit down, start talking. And if you can talk, people are going to find you now. And even if you can't, people are going to find you now.
My degree at Geneseo State University, I graduated with a speech communication degree, which basically meant that I took radio and TV classes. I'm the only guy that's ever graduated college in a great school, one of the best, the Harvard of the SUNY system. I didn't take a science class or a math class in college. That should be a law now. that if you go to college, you must take a math or science class, no matter what your major is and whatever you graduate with. I think I was the last class ever to be able to graduate from a state school without math or science, man. I'm proud of that.
Yeah, and I think I disagree with you there. I think college is about a full-grown people, even though you're not full-grown yet, but deciding what they want to learn about and study what you want to learn about. No more forcing. That's kindergarten through 12. No more forcing stuff on people. Some people, and I'm speaking for myself here, so maybe I'm projecting. Some people are much better when they're studying or doing what they want. And I know, okay, for kids, make them learn things. For adults, let them pursue their passions. And I don't think colleges should make anybody take anything. I think that people should go there to try to find their passions, or in life, just like if you're not going to college, you try to do what you want and you'll live a long time and a much more enjoyable life than if you're working in a coal mine. That's like being made to take math as an adult. Oof.
Yeah, I have 2 college graduates and they're doing great. And they're in the real world now. And the amount of money it took to pay for them to get through college, I was happy I could afford to pay for them to go to college, and they got good grades and did everything right and they deserved it. That was a dream of mine. But I don't think 10 years from now we're going to see parents funding kids going to college anymore at $250,000 or $500,000 for an education, because I don't think they need it. I don't know what's going to happen in the world of AI. I'm invested in AI. I'm up early watching the stock market. A lot of it is tech and AI. And I think a lot of people, because of ChatGPT and the involvement of what's happening with education online and how much information people are absorbing so quickly, a college education is still going to be very important, but it's not going to be as important as it was 30, 50, 70 years ago. That's a guarantee.
They're going to be forced to evolve, which they should have been a long time ago. You have to evolve to what is needed. And we're always going to need people educated in science so we can live a long time. It's really important. We shouldn't be punishing Harvard or UCLA for anything on their political beliefs or what's going on their campuses with protests, because they need to help us figure out why we're sick and figure out medicine. So we'll always need education for that. We have special needs kids that need teachers, and we need specialized education that matters. And so that's where it has to evolve. Even in our same thing with our regular schools, and that is if you bring someone back from 1877 and plop them into 2025, they won't recognize anything. A car wash, a phone. They'll look around. They won't recognize any business hardly at all whatsoever, other than a bakery. And they wouldn't you know what they will recognize? A school, because it still looks the same. Desks, chalkboard. Some of them are still up. Some of the same schools. My grandfather went to the same school as my niece. That shouldn't be. Desks, chalkboard. We need to find out new and quicker ways and better ways to educate children as well. Because history's not boring and science isn't boring. Teachers are.
Well, I remain one of, if not the only radio host to still be married to my original wife and never been to therapy.
Wife. Oh, yes.
Yeah. And you're my therapy. You're my therapist. So I have 45 minutes to an hour of therapy every week with you, where I don't have to actually drive somewhere and sit on a couch. And very interesting week for me. And here's why. The Raiders finished their last game against Kansas City, and they won. Oh, my God, buy a lottery ticket. They won. They won their 3rd game of the year. And before the game began, the Giants beat the Cowboys, so the Raiders were assured the number 1 pick. So that happened before the game, which changed everything, because then the Raiders could go out and win, because there was no chance they could win the game if the Giants lost to the Cowboys, because if the Raiders would have won and the Giants lost, the Raiders would have lost out on Fernando Mendoza. So the Raiders won the game against Kansas City. They got the number 1 pick. They fired Pete Carroll. And once again, Tom, I have a relationship that I built and put a lot of effort and time and emotion to, and that relationship is gone. Now, I hope it's not gone forever, because I text some of the former coaches, but I put in a lot of time and sweat equity with Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll's gone at 74 years old, a one and done with the Raiders.
as you have with Dennis Allen and Josh McDaniel and Art Shell, and you can go on and on and on. And that's just, it's really tough when you're losing, as you know, and you've had one of the toughest jobs in the past year that you've ever had, because as you mentioned, the Raiders are having trouble running a play. And even though you really liked Pete Carroll, and so have I over the years, and I was a fan of his, your team couldn't run a play. And so something had to be done. And I guess one of the rewards when you can't run a play is you end up with the first round draft pick and Fernando Mania there in Vegas. And he looks like he's a little cheesy, but that's in this. You want your quarterback to be a little bit of a square and a leader, and not the guy who's closing the bar. And you won't have the guy who's closing the bar or the casino in Fernando. He's got his shit together.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be the pick, but there's a lot that happens. And right. I wanted to get into the sports element of our podcast, NFL Wildcard Weekend. Okay. But I'm going to start with the coaches that have been fired and Black Monday. We're allowed to say Black Monday. We're not allowed to say a lot of things on radio anymore. We're still allowed to say Black Monday, which went into Black Tuesday because of the firing of John Harbaugh, where I happened to be live on the air. I didn't have to go to break. I didn't have to have my producers run in the room and print out stuff. No, I just said, wow, John Harbaugh got fired. 6 teams have vacancies, but now 8 to 9 teams have called on him. That would be the Dolphins and the Jets, who haven't fired their coaches. But God, if John Harbaugh is interested. So now we got a nice wrinkle. We got a nice wrinkle here because John Harbaugh got fired, and I couldn't wait to get on the pod and talk to you about this. This is a great topic. John Harbaugh got fired because a kicker missed a kick. Now, follow me here. If the kicker made the kick, and it wasn't a hard kick, Harbaugh would have won the division. He would have hosted a home playoff game. There's zero chance, he would have been fired. So we can obviously debate that he got fired because one guy didn't drop a ball, didn't fumble a ball, missed a kick. Are you telling me after 18 years in a Super Bowl and all those playoff performances, you're firing that effing guy because a rookie missed a kick? That's the topic, Tom, no one's talking about. That's not the way John Harbaugh should have went out, Tom Looney.
No, it's not. And if you even just bring the camera back a little bit further, you'll realize he got fired because another kicker, another football player couldn't behave when he was getting a massage. Because they had the best kicker in the NFL, and Justin Tuck. And he got yet another player who was addicted to a massage therapist and just kept misbehaving with one after another after another. I don't know if I'm supposed to say allegedly here or not, but allegedly is so old fashioned. we know. We all have video now. It was in the news business. It's so silly when we say allegedly. No, there's not allegedly a bear in the kitchen. He's eating out of a jar of honey. We have the video here. So and that's another thing, if you pull back a little further, that happened, that happened to John Harbaugh, as one of his best players couldn't behave, got fired, and then you got some green banana coming in, trying to kick a field goal to win a game. And if it has to come down to a field goal to win a game, the general will tell you, in this case, John Harbaugh, that there's a lot of other reasons why they lost that game, not just the kicker.
Yeah, and I threw out a topic on the shows that no one's really been able to answer, which I'll throw out to our live stream and you. I don't recall a coach getting fired. I don't recall one coach getting fired in that situation in my life. I was at wide right when Norwood missed the kick. They didn't fire Marv Levy, right? Scott Norwood lost the Super Bowl, field goal. Marv Levy didn't get fired. I had to go back to Marty Schottenheimer with the Chargers. Do you remember when Schottenheimer went 14-2? 14-2.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they've been cursed ever since they fired him. Yep.
So follow me here. The Chargers went 14-2. They had the bye week. They got a bye. That's when they used to have 2 byes. The Chargers hosted the next game and lost. They lost their first playoff game, and they were the favorite, and they fired Schottenheimer. This is the only thing I can recall, because coaches don't get fired if they're in the playoffs. traditionally, and they don't get fired if they're playing the last game of the season for the playoffs. Let me give you another example. You remember, it's pretty easy to remember, the Raiders only made the playoffs once recently. They beat the Chargers on the last game of the year on Sunday Night Football. They could have played for a tie, and they kicked the field goal, and they walked off, and the Raiders went to the playoff. That was the year that Gruden resigned. And the Chargers had Boy Blunder, Brandon Staley, as the head coach. And he lost that game. He didn't get fired. He got fired the following year when he gave up 63 points to the Raiders mid-season. So what I'm trying to get to is, it's so radical to fire a coach who's playing for the division, did everything to win the game, and now you fire him. And there's probably, as you said, something bigger to it. There's something more, his relationship with Lamar Jackson, his relationship to his coaching staff. But I was shocked that Harbaugh was relieved of his losses.
I didn't say there's something bigger, but I would say that you don't. Colin Powell warned us about taking down Saddam Hussein. You don't know what's next or who's next. And not to compare John Harbaugh to Saddam Hussein, but what I mean is, have you got anybody better? I want to know the bigger plan. I better hear someone better than John Harbaugh if you're going to fire John Harbaugh. Who you got? And the answer is there isn't anybody better. And so they screwed up, because next year they're not going to be better than they would have been if John Harbaugh was the coach. And that's too bad.
Yeah, that's really interesting you say that, because you always want to replace someone with someone you think is better. And maybe Mike Tomlin was in the same boat. If that kick is made, Mike Tomlin's eliminated from the playoffs. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers doesn't play in the playoffs. That could have been Aaron Rodgers' last game. Mike Tomlin, I don't think, would have been fired by the Steelers, but they would have let him resign. And that was a really big conversation about a month ago. And Tomlin all of a sudden gets a reprieve, like the governor's on the phone. You're going to live. So Tomlin lives, Harbaugh goes down. And how about this caveat? Which I think is cool and no one's talking about. Mike Tomlin got John Harbaugh fired. Oh my God. Did you hear that on any other show? No. Mike Tomlin, his biggest rival in 19 years, is John Harbaugh. 19 years, 18 years. They beat each other. They knocked each other out. Mike Tomlin got John Harbaugh fired. Fact, not fiction. What a week for Tomlin, and he gets to host a playoff game on Monday Night Football, Tom, and he's never lost on Monday Night Football.
Oh, he's never lost on Monday Night Football, but when's the last time Aaron Rodgers played two good games in a row? 2018? So good luck to the Steelers on Monday night. They're playing the Texans? Oh, my God. The best team in the NFL right now, the best squad in the NFL is the Houston Texans defense. So the teams that are screwed over these brackets in the AFC will be anyone that has to play the Houston Texans, because that Houston Texans defense is probably going to maul the mediocre Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right. I like to start in the beginning. You like to start at the top. We've been fighting over that for decades. I like to start at top 10 at 10 and go to 1. You like to start at 1 when no one's interested in 6 or 7. So you went to Monday Night Football. Let's play Monday Night Football.
Okay, sorry.
Texans -3. Texans -3 on the road against Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers. Oh, I'm not done. TJ Watt. Oh, Jalen Ramsey. Cam Hayward. You don't think these Steelers, who knocked the Ravens out of the postseason, who are going to get an extra day at home to play where they never lose on Monday night, are going to lose to C.J. Stroud? Who the hell has C.J. Stroud ever done compared to Aaron Rodgers? This is my upset special.
Wow.
I'm going Steelers. Take care of business at home, because the fraudulent Texans every year get to the playoffs with Matt Schaub or someone else, and they don't win squat. I'll go the Steelers outright at home.
Well, they don't win squat. They're on a 9-game winning streak, and this game probably will come down to Houston. It could come down to Houston's offense, but as I've always said, and this is incredibly accurate, Aaron Rodgers is Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki was great, and the Dallas Mavericks won 1 championship. Aaron Rodgers has been great, and his Green Bay Packers won 1 championship. Other than that, he's Dirk. And C.J. Stroud is the new shiny object the program directors love. And that offense will do what it needs to do. They're like the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, who all of a sudden in mid-October stopped losing football games. They just stopped losing football games. Remember the Ravens? And then they just crashed through everybody. The Houston Texans have stopped losing football games, and because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, this could be a game that's 3-0 at the half. Pittsburgh Steeler games. Pittsburgh, and I love defensive football. And I'm not as bothered by 3-0 at the half as other people, but that's going to be the goddamn score. And the Houston Texans defense is better, and that's why they will win the game. And the offense, well, they've done enough to win 9 games in a row. And when's the last time Aaron Rodgers put together 9 games in a row with a team? So even though you're trashing C.J. Stroud, that defense and Houston offense is going to put together a 17-14 win over the Pittsburgh. It won't be a high scoring game because of the defense and because there's no such thing as a Pittsburgh Steeler game that's high scoring. Jesus Christ.
All right, let's move to Saturday, January 10th. The early game is the Rams at the Panthers. As we sit here and we record, the Panthers are a 10.5-point underdog at home. First off, the Panthers already beat the Rams this year in the regular season at home. Didn't stay close. They beat them. So they have the blueprint, the video to show all week, and Matthew Stafford looked like crap in that game. Number 2, the Rams have to travel from LAX or Carson all the way to Charlotte. That ain't easy. There's a 3-hour time change. This game is going to be 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern. Look, I think the Rams are going to win, and so do you. But be careful with this one, man, because if I'm the Panthers, I'm walking around the facility this week saying 10.5 points. We beat their ass, and they're giving us a 2-score game. Panthers are a live dog in this one, Tom.
Well, I will tell you this, just one programming note. The blimp is in Carson. They're not taking the blimp across the country. But nevertheless, inside L.A., Californians joke. But they travel first class. They'll be you travel with the Raiders for so many years. You travel first class with wide seats and filet mignon and a nice menu to go with it. They'll be fine traveling across the country to play the Panthers. And I don't think Matthew Stafford's going to throw 3 interceptions this time. It'll be a closer game than people think, but the Rams will win it.
All right, the next big topic is big because it's the Packers and Bears. That's our oldest rivalry. The Meat Packers, the Hallis and the Bears. Okay, I picked the Packers to win the NFC, but they lost Micah Parsons. And when I picked them, they didn't have Micah Parsons. They did the deal with the Cowboys. They lost their star tight end. Jordan Love's been concussed. They shut it down to get ready for this game. Look, the Bears are the 2 seed. Caleb Williams came around with Ben Johnson. I'm invested in the Packers getting to the Super Bowl. I don't change my pick, but I don't feel really good. I think the right side of this game is the Bears. But the bigger topic is my father-in-law in Lincoln, Illinois, can't watch the game because these scoundrels put the game on Prime Video. Excuse me, you son of a blanks. What channel is Prime Video for all the people that are 70 years old in Illinois or 70 years old in Seattle and want to watch the game, and they don't have a remote with Prime Video? What the hell is this crap?
Yeah, people in small town America, whenever I talk to my friends in Elmira, New York, actually, I mentioned Elmira for the first time in a long time on this podcast, haven't I? But I already know the answer if I ask them a question like, hey, do you have Venmo? No. I already know the answer. When the question comes out of my mouth, I always know if it's anything modern, it's going to be no. Does your phone dial or is it push button? It dials. So people in small town America don't have Amazon Prime a lot of times. Older people, and if it is, it's a younger person. You're right. People over 54 who still drink Maxwell House do not have Amazon Prime, and it's greed on the part of the NFL. But here's the dirty secret. See, if the NFL puts a finger in every pot with Yahoo and Amazon and Netflix, then Amazon and Netflix don't do a documentary about the ugly side of the NFL. That's a big part of it. And then Yahoo, who was independent for so long and doing independent journalism, doesn't do that documentary about the dark side of the game. Great book by Tim Green back in the day, former Syracuse Orangeman in Atlanta.
Yes, legend.
Great book and a good broadcaster and former disc jockey at 95X in Syracuse. And so I think that's one of the reasons why the NFL does that, and it's not fair, to your father-in-law, other older folks who don't have every streaming service so they can watch reruns of Breaking Bad.
Oh, and they got in the game. You're going Bears or Packers?
They split the regular season, and that one of the great games in the NFL played this year was the Packers and the Bears and the overtime game and onside kicks. And Caleb Williams was brilliant. And is Caleb Williams going to put together a 4-quarter game? He's still such a green banana. And what's he going to be like in 2 years and 4 years and 6 years? He doesn't even know what he's doing yet. He reminds me of Yasiel Puig, but a little more disciplined Yasiel Puig. Remember when Yasiel Puig came to the Dodgers and he was wild, but he didn't know how to run the bases. And the Dodgers went on the greatest winning streak that they had ever had. And so wait till he figures out what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing yet, and they're winning games. And so that's what makes me think that the Packers have an edge here. The Bears defense they have issues. They've shown up lately. Jordan Love will be back and can exploit some of those defensive issues for the Bears. And I think that's what it'll come down to, is Jordan Love being more consistent than Caleb Williams. He's not a better quarterback than Caleb Williams, but he'll be more consistent and he's more mature. Caleb Williams still needs to mature a little bit. I say Packers 27, Bears 24, but this is one where it's definitely a wild card.
All right, so I'm going to stay with the Packers and the Bears here. Look, if the Bears win, I'm not going to be shocked. They've played great. Right. Green Bay is a
No, what I'm saying.
I don't know why you're freezing on me right now.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but if it's if it does freeze on you, it doesn't mean it's freezing on the stream. Sometimes it's just your computer readjusting. But if the Bears win this game, I won't be surprised. I'm trying to be right here by picking the Packers, but I think I'm going to be cheering for the Bears while I watch it. I love Caleb Williams.
All right, let's go to Sunday, January 11th. The early window on CBS, the Romo Nance game, will be the Buffalo Bills at the Jaguars. The Jaguars are 13-4. Let me repeat, 13-4. The Bills are 12-5. I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl. I am not backing off this. Do you know if you told Josh Allen before the season started in Rochester, New York, where they have camp, at St. John Fisher, and said, hey, Josh, it's going to come to January. There's going to be no Joe Burrow. There's going to be no Lamar Jackson, and there's going to be no Patrick Mahomes. All of them are going to be out of the playoffs. Your nemesises, you're going to have to go through Houston or Jacksonville. He's got to embrace this. It's not a cold weather game. It's Florida. Bills Mafia is in Florida. I got the Bills winning. If the Bills lose this game and don't win a playoff game with their Super Bowl window being open, it's a bleeping disaster. The Bills are only a 1.5-point favorite. That's it. I'm going to go Bills. I think it'll be close. I got the Buffalo Bills winning 31-24. Bills Mafia advance.
Yeah, and if they lose, they don't get Harbaugh, because I don't think Harbaugh is going to be able to sit back like the Godfather and take the best offer. And even if he gets paid a lot more than by the Buffalo Bills or everybody else, he's not saying, "Honey, the kids are going off to college now. Where do we want to spend our twilight years?" Buffalo, New York will not be the answer. Damn it! I wish it was, but it's not going to be one of America's fastest shrinking cities. This is a game where the Bills are going to have to win it on defense, and that's tough. Jaguars have played well on offense with Trevor Lawrence. They've been amazing, and the Bills haven't played well on defense. They start out slow. Smoking Joe Frazier always got knocked right in the face in the first round, and these Bills are as tough as Smoking Joe, and they suck in the first round. They suck in the first two quarters usually. They better not end up playing from behind when the team is hot as Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence. It'll be fun to watch both quarterbacks light it up. And with Josh Allen winning late, Buffalo Bills 32, Jacksonville Jaguars 28. I'm a poet and I don't even know it.
I'll tell you this much. Without Detroit in the playoffs and Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, if the Bills don't win a playoff game and no Patrick Mahomes, the playoffs suck. Okay, forget about this. If we don't have the Bills, we don't have Patrick Mahomes, and I'm happy Mahomes is out, and we don't have Lamar Jackson, and we don't have Joe Burrow, this sucks. I need the Bills for entertainment purposes going forward.
As a matter of fact, the winner of this game could end up going all the way to the Super Bowl.
Niners, Eagles in the 1:30 window on Fox Lincoln Financial Field. I was talking to our trusty producer, now talented friend. He's on air now, Sam Batesh, this morning, who's an Eagles fan. And if the Niners, there's always all this hype around the Niners, and it's all because of Joe Montana and Steve Young and Jerry Rice. There's nothing to be excited about. The Niners almost won a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. Right. The Niners this year didn't have Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, and they're now in the playoffs again. They got annihilated. The score didn't show it. That Seattle game the other day, Seattle ran it down their throat. The Niners had 3 points at home in a playoff game. They look like garbage. If the Niners lose this game to the Eagles after scoring 3 against Seattle, that house of cards in Santa Clara, home of the Super Bowl this year, is going to collapse. I don't see the Niners winning this game without Bosa and Fred Warner because Saquon Barkley's on the other side. But the Niners have Christian McCaffrey. The Eagles are a 4.5-point favorite. The magic number is 3. I think that's too many points. I'm going to go the Eagles get by the Niners in a classic. I think Purdy is going to have the ball late. I think the Eagles are going to have to knock a ball down on 4th down. I got the Eagles winning 23-20. Eagles win, but they don't cover the 4.5.
Yeah, a note to Fox. Every time that the 49ers defense gets punked, that's when you show Robert Saleh. Okay. Because they didn't do that. They didn't do that last week with the Seattle Seahawks. When the Niners did something great on defense, they're showing Robert Saleh. The camera loves Robert Saleh. Maybe they're trying to get him another head coaching job, God forbid. But no, how about every time the Eagles defense punks Robert Saleh, you point the camera at him? They're coming in playing a lot of dominating defense. 49ers have been good on offense, and that matchup is really going to be the one that decides the game. And something's got to give. And will the Eagles offense be able to do enough? The 49ers over this year, have been winning games week after week when we thought they were done because of all the injuries. And that's coaching, and that's the general manager picking the right players. So this game is going to be another slugfest, like the Steelers and the Houston Texans, probably low scoring, which I think the Philadelphia Eagles pulling off because of being at home and because of the defense. I'm the defensive guy. I always the offense has all the funny shiny objects, all the fun shiny objects, but the defense is what wins it. Eagles 27, 49ers 17.
Wow, 10-point win for the Eagles at home. And then finally, Chargers at the Patriots. If you go back, you're seeing a lot of viral videos this week of when the Belichick Patriots with Brady and Vrabel and Bruschi went into San Diego and beat Rivers, Sean Merriman, and the lights out dance, and they beat them. And then there was fights on the field and in the tunnel. Phillip Rivers was screaming, "You guys have no class." It was real. I forgot about it, man. They have a really good recent history, the Patriots and the Chargers in the postseason. The Chargers are the ones who lose, but the Patriots have had some classic games, mostly in San Diego. Look, if the Chargers have their left tackle and right tackle out all year, Joe Alt, Slater, Herbert's got a bum left hand, not right hand. Herbert threw 4 interceptions in the playoffs last year. They want to run it more than throw it. If the Chargers win this game against the Patriot team that is 14-3, it will go down as arguably the greatest Charger road victory in 50 years. And they can do it. Chargers are tough, and Jim Harbaugh knows how to coach a game. I'm going to give the Patriots the edge here for obvious reasons. They're home. But should I have a sneaky feeling that the Chargers could steal this game because no one's talking about them?
No, Chargers. They have too many. Everyone's hurt. The teams with the best offensive lines, the dirty secret, the boring secret about the NFL. The teams with the healthiest offensive lines and the best defense tend to make it to the Super Bowl year in and year out. And the Chargers have the most damaged offensive line. So if Herbert isn't protected, and it could be a long night for the Chargers, and the Patriots have been running the ball down everyone's throat. So it's Drake May's first playoff game, and that might mean something. Chargers defense is good against the pass, but it'll be close. But I think the Pats win it, and they'll probably win it late. So it'll be, because it's a playoff game and because of the intensity, probably closer than a lot of people think this game will be. Patriots 24, Chargers 20.
And then finally, what we always end with, and we know you love it, for your comments, please hit like. Can everybody please hit like and share? Because we do this to try to get everybody to stay involved with us, but you got to kind of help. You got to share, you got to like, you got to move the podcast forward, please. I've been very good in the new year. I haven't DM'd everybody. That's a big goal. Right. We're only 7 days in. It's like saying that I haven't drank. No, I've had a couple of beverages. I always say dry January works. It doesn't work for me because I have a great New Year's, and then normally New Year's Day I'm a little hungover and I'll chase it with a beer. But I know you're streaming a lot. You're streaming.
This is beautiful. But, John F. Kennedy said, "Ask not what you can do for your country, or ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." JT the Brick says, I don't like dry January. I can't do it.
I should do it, actually. I actually should do it, but I'm not doing it. I know.
Are you reading comments, though? You did say you weren't going to DM people. Are you still reading the comments? Are you still in the boys' room with your feet up on the toilet reading the comments?
Well, it's a good thing. I think Raider fans are too busy not hating me. Raider fans love me. There's like 17 that get my DMs, right? And none of them show up live. They never come see me. I do more remotes than anyone in radio, and the tough guys never come. But that's a different point. But I think everybody's not focused on me in the new year. They're focused on getting a new head coach and getting Fernando. So I'm pretty good. What are you streaming? I know you went back into the vault to stream over some Irish coffees at night. What have you been watching?
Yeah, and I told you over the in our pre-show meeting with the staff, I told you about how we went back to watch Breaking Bad more sober from beginning to end. It was during the pandemic when some people, including us, we caught up on Sopranos and Breaking Bad and some of the things that went on in pop culture that missed out on. And when we watched Breaking Bad over the pandemic, there was Bailey's and coffee, so we'd stay awake late. Then it became Irish coffees, and then we saw episodes but forgot about them. Forgot what we saw, so watched it sober from beginning to end in a marathon over the holidays, and really enjoyed it. Now we're going to do Better Call Saul sober, so that's been one of the fun things that I've done, watching that brilliant series. And one of the things that inspired this was Pluribus, which is written by the same guy, produced Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, which is on Apple TV, and a brilliant series, which I recommend anybody to watch. So Pluribus, which spawned Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul in our house. So how about you?
Not much. I've been busy, but I did finish John Elway, his documentary on Netflix, and I would highly recommend it. There's a lot of video from Stanford, which we never saw before. There's a lot of high school video that no one ever saw. So that was really good. Very unique life, being the number one pick, to be drafted by the Yankees, to be drafted by the Colts and say, no, I'm not going to play for the erratic drunk owner in Baltimore. I'm not. This is before Indy, and to hold out. And he went from being the most popular quarterback, arguably, when his senior year at Stanford, when he was coming out, he was blonde. He married the swimmer from the swim team. That's interesting, real interesting. His wife, who cooperated, ex-wife, for the whole documentary and was gracious. Most ex-wives could not do what this ex-wife did. But he was hated once he turned down the Colts because basically every player like Terry Bradshaw basically went on TV and was like, who are you to say you're not going to play for a team? That's why we have a draft. And he was able to get through that. He was benched. He started as a rookie, sucked. Dan Reeves benched him. Then he had to come through all of that. He had to help get Dan Reeves fired to bring Mike Shanahan in. And then he wins the last 2 Super Bowls, his final 2 after losing 3. And holy crap, did we forget what it was like when he kept losing Super Bowls. It was like Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly lost 4 Super Bowls. John Elway lost 3. And Elway was getting criticized and then finally got the gorilla off his back, then went into successful careers as GM and executive. But they left out the part because it was already done where his best friend and agent got killed in that golf cart accident. That wasn't in the documentary. At the end, they dedicated the documentary to the individual who was killed with John Elway on the golf cart, and I think we should have had a little bit more of that in there.
Well, people die, and it's tough. And and it's not that he was unfamiliar with that subject. Didn't he have a twin sister who died?
Yeah, twin sister too passed. Yep.
And how tough it had to be a life growing up as the twin sister of John Elway, who's getting all the attention, like Tiger Woods' siblings. Tiger Woods had siblings. And so sometimes it's tough growing up in that spotlight, but I can't wait to see it. I just watched the trailer last night. I'm glad to find out there's Granada Hills High School and more Stanford footage because we back then when he was hot at Stanford, it was a lot of talk. But if you'll remember, there was no streaming then. You couldn't see his highlights on your phone. So if someone was great, especially in the West Coast back in the day, you just didn't see him. Because of the time difference, and they didn't get Heisman trophies because all the drunk voters were asleep by the time the West Coast games came on. So there's a lot of Heisman trophies that didn't get passed out to people like Anthony Davis and John Elway because of the time zone difference and the lack of ability for voters to see them play. So I saw the trailer last night, and I'm looking forward to it. And I was actually happy for him. I was an LA Raider fan. They wanted nothing to do with John Elway, but by the time it's his last 2 years in his career, he won a Super Bowl. I was happy for him. And that's what you have to remind people about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Be careful what you wish. If you're cheering against those guys, remember John Elway won a Super Bowl in his last 2 years as a quarterback.
Well, that's it. We're under 45 minutes. Now I could go make a living with my other jobs that I have to do today. And I'll be back again. Hey, we kicked off the new year. 2 happy chatter companions. Thanks for listening to the JT and Looney Podcast.